Miss Thompson, you claim Mr. Smithbey abandoned you and your children, forcing you to drop out of nursing school and leaving you to struggle as a single mother. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
You've come to court seeking paternity tests for both of your children, Legend and Radiance.
Yes, Your Honor.
Additionally, you are suing the defendant for child-rearing expenses in the amount of $2,000.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Smithbey, you say you are not Legend or Radiance's father because you've heard another man has been taking on the daddy role. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
So, Ms. Thompson, why are the results of these DNA tests so important?
Because my kids deserve a father. And not only that, I'm tired of struggling with my kids. I need help so I could finish school, so I could take care of us better.
Why don't you help out at all, Mr. Smithbey?
I actually do, Your Honor. We were never really in a relationship, and I do take care of them. I do what I can for the children, you know, food.
So you say it wasn't a relationship?
No, it wasn't.
What was it for you?
Just a sexual relationship, basically.
And so it was just sex, and that's enough to make 2 children. The children are just gorgeous.
Ooh-wee.
So when you see your children, that affects you. What do you feel as a mom?
I'm hurting. Not only for my kids, but for me, like, he's saying we was never together, but he was living with me in my home. His clothes was there. He had a key to my house.
True, Your Honor.
I was taking him back and forth to work and everything.
Were you staying at her house, Mr.
At one point in
Smithbey?
time, yes, I was. I stayed there for a few months on and off.
All right, so let's, for the sake of the children and understanding the circumstances surrounding each, let's treat this as almost 2 separate cases.
Okay.
All right, let's start with Legend. Legend is 2 years old.
Yes, Your Honor.
Take me back to the circumstances surrounding Legend's conception.
We had sex, which was May of 2013, the 11th and the 12th. Both of those nights we had sex. And my son was supposed to be conceived on May the 12th. So it's no doubt in my mind that Mr. Smithbey isn't the father.
Do you remember having sex with her on those days,
Yes,
Mr.
ma'am.
Smithbey?
I do remember having sex at that time, but at the same time, she tried to hide the whole situation, so it was like...
Explain. You said she tried to hide it.
Yes, like...
No, he was hiding me because he had a girlfriend at the time that had a baby in between my 2 kids. So I wasn't hiding him, he was hiding me.
That's not true. I was in a relationship with someone else at the time.
Right, so
but
you were
at the same
hiding
time,
me.
She told me not to come around while she was pregnant. I couldn't see her. I couldn't see her while she was pregnant, so that's why I felt like Legend wasn't mine.
Tell me specifically what that...
Like I would call and text, ask, can I see her? Do you need anything?
He
Can I
knew
come
where I
over?
stayed
And
at. His family members knew where I stayed at. He
That's
also
not true.
popped up to my house several times while I was pregnant with Legend.
That's not true, Your Honor. I came over once and actually someone was there. That's when I felt like maybe he was the father because he was there playing the father role.
How did you know that person was playing the daddy role if when you came, they left?
Because,
Thank
I
you.
mean, the way he would, when I came, he left. Like she told him, okay, go ahead and leave. Like when she seen me, for what reason, I don't know.
He got up and left on his own, and we also was outside on my porch. Legend was already born.
You say Legend was born.
Yes, he was.
And you say she was pregnant when this happened.
She was pregnant, from my understanding. She was just now
Yeah,
pregnant.
with
I
our
was trying to see
second child.
if she was pregnant. I haven't seen her in months. Like it was hard to.
Were
keep
you
up with.
trying to hide from him?
No, ma'am. At first, I wasn't really hiding, but I told him that I didn't want his help because I didn't look what's happening now. He's
Exactly.
denying my kids.
You were feeling like, look, if you don't want to be bothered, don't come around.
Right.
So you do admit that you were kind of pushing him away.
Yeah.
Yes, because
That's
I
what she
didn't want to
was.
go through this.
But you were interpreting that to mean that you must not be the father.
Like, why would you try to hide all of this from me if I'm the father?
I was not necessarily hiding Legend. He knew I was pregnant
That's
from
not
him.
true. She would get mad at times and tell me I'm not his father. At times.
When?
Like, she
When
would
did I
tell me-
ever
she
tell
would
you
tell
that you
me
was
to
not
come
Legend's
around. She
father?
would tell me, oh, you're not the father. Don't worry about it.
You've never told him
No.
he was not the father?
Your Honor.
Yeah,
no.
she's told me that at times.
When I want to move on with my life, those are not your kids. When I want to be up under you, those are your kids. You love them and you love me and you stay with us and everything. We're family
not
with
true.
as long as he's getting what he wants. When I don't want to be with him and I want to go and do my own thing, oh, those not my
not-
kids. I
that's
need a
not true,
DNA
dog.
test.
So you believe he's using the children as pawns?
Yes, yeah.
So when Legend's born, he doesn't come around and treat this
No,
as...
he was actually in the hospital, and I asked him in the hospital that he want a DNA test. He told me no because I know this is my son.
She
The
said-
Were you
hospital.
at the hospital, Mr. Smithbey?
Yes, I did come there
Thank
to see
you.
him, yes.
But you didn't sign.
I did not sign a birth certificate.
Why is that?
Because I felt like he wasn't mine. I mean, she...
So why didn't you get a DNA test when I asked? I asked if you want a DNA test at the hospital.
But you want me to sign a birth certificate, but the whole time
And I asked him,
can't
did he
see
want a
you.
DNA
Did
test?
she ask you about having a DNA test at the hospital?
No, she did.
Yes, I did.
And from that moment, once Legend came home, is he in his life, Miss Thompson?
Not for the past couple of months. They haven't seen him.
And it's not my fault. I haven't seen him. She told me to stop coming around. So if you don't want me to come to your house, I'm not going to come there.
You told him to stop coming around?
Because I don't want to be with him because he don't want to be faithful to me. I don't want to be with him. I don't want him to come to my house because when he's around, it's only something sexual. I want more out of life. I don't want to be with a man and just have sex with him. Oh, goodness.
And this is upsetting because you want your family.
Not only that, I loved him. I can't say loved, but I did. But obviously, he don't care as much as I care.
And now you potentially have 2 children with him.
Yes.
If you want more episodes of Paternity Court, make sure to subscribe and click on the notification bell. Mr. Smithbey, she says you won't be faithful to her. You won't be with her, but you keep potentially making children with her. You having this ongoing sexual relationship where you're making children.
Not necessarily, Your Honor. That ongoing sexual relationship been stopped a while back ago, you know. And I just try to play the best role I can in their life, but I can't deal with somebody that wants to be drama in my life.
The bottom line is, at first, you were interested in having a relationship with her.
Not really. I mean, like I say, it was
Sexual
always a sexual relationship, and plus, I was in a relationship with someone else, you know, so.
The whole time, though. The whole time we supposed to have been together, you were still with this person.
How is this affecting Legend? He's 2.
Yeah,
So, does he think you're his dad?
He know that's his daddy.
Your Honor, I brought evidence to show you that Legend is not mine.
Oh, I'd like to see that evidence.
And I have evidence that he was there.
Yes, ma'am. Right here, as you can see, this is me right here. This is Legend. As you can see, my family, we have broad shoulders, 44 inches wide.
Your family.
This is my shoulder one, 44 inches wide. My other children, they have 14 inches wide shoulder length. Legend is 8.5 inches wide. He doesn't have broad shoulders at all, so therefore, that's why I feel like he's not mine.
He 2.
Broad shoulders running
He
my
not
family.
10.
Jerome, I think this is the first time someone has presented shoulder evidence. What you're saying is that in your family, there is a body structure.
Yes, a certain body structure that my kids have.
No,
and
they
your
don't.
other children
Does
have
not
it.
have that.
Yes, he don't.
Okay.
None of them does. He has mostly girls anyway.
Also the ears, as you can see, he doesn't have ears. I
Those
have
ears?
big Martin Dumbo ears. And
he has those. Look at
In that picture right there, he does.
Yeah, on that picture, on that picture he does, of course.
They look just alike. My son just got big eyes, and he's really going off the color.
I'm not going off the color. I mean, he doesn't have my skin complexion or anything.
Right. See what he said?
You don't see any resemblance when you look at him.
Not any, none.
It's just them eyes and his skin.
Exactly,
That's the only
his
thing
eyes.
to say.
He had big eyes. I don't have big eyes.
Like your other family members have big eyes?
I don't have any big-eyed people in my family.
So none of your people have big eyes?
Nobody had big eyes in my family.
Okay.
Ooh, okay. We're going nowhere fast.
No.
And yet, who does he think his father is?
Mr. Smithbey, it's his father. That's who he calls Dad.
It is?
Yes.
So he calls you Daddy?
Yes, he does. He does, but at the same time, she has someone else playing.
Who is someone else?
What does he ask for his dad?
But I know Legend is missing him because he also say, I'm going to tell my daddy on you whenever I do something to him. He's like, I'm going to tell my daddy. So I know that.
All right, let's move on to Radiance. When you found out you were pregnant with Radiance,
he told me I was pregnant. We was having sex at the time.
That's not true.
And the time we were having sex, I didn't want to finish the act because I didn't want to get pregnant again. He told me it's too late for that because you're already pregnant.
How I know she pregnant? I'm not a doctor. I can't tell if she pregnant. When she got pregnant with Radiance, we weren't even having sex like that at all.
Okay.
Barely, not even really having sex. I was
still
confused, like I didn't want to have sex.
So now you was in a daze?
Right.
Mr. Smithbey?
I wasn't in a daze. I'm just saying we wasn't having sex. And then we were using protection. We wasn't having unprotected sex. Come on now.
So when I went to the doctor, they confirmed that I was pregnant. When I came back and told him, he said, I already knew that. I told you I was pregnant.
Exactly. So I guess I'm just a psychic pregnant reader. Come on.
Well, I don't know.
So you didn't say any of these things?
I didn't say any
I'm just living in my own world.
Got to be a dream or something. That couldn't have been reality.
Okay. So when you say you weren't intimate too often, Mr. Smithbey, during that time, were you also with someone else? Because you say you weren't intimate with.
That's why he's trying to say that he wasn't intimate with me like he was.
Because I mean, I had just got out of a relationship.
He told me that he didn't know how to break up with her, how to tell her about my kids, because he didn't want to hurt her feelings. But wasn't thinking about mine. And that's not fair to me.
Oh, so you're saying that he expects you to sit around and wait for him. If you can't.
Right. And he had said that before when we were supposed to be together. Oh, I'm going to get it together. You just got to give me a little bit more time. I'm going to be the person you need me to be. And it's like, why should I have to wait on you when I'm the woman that, I'm being the woman that I'm supposed to be?
I wasn't with Miss Thompson. It was, like I said, it was a sexual relationship ongoing. And I was trying to explain to both.
So you were with Miss Thompson. You had a girlfriend, but you were with Miss Thompson.
Okay, yes, I was.
All the time. We stayed around the corner from each other, maybe 3 blocks away.
Oh, my goodness. So you're denying Radiance, too, now?
Of course.
So Legend is here, and you're denying Radiance?
Yes.
He wanted to sign the birth certificate?
Yes, for Radiance.
Did you want to sign the birth certificate?
We planned on him being there, everything.
Oh, my. Do you all agree on anything?
That's what I'm saying. We can't,
She didn't want me there, Your Honor.
What are your doubts?
I mean, she doesn't really have she doesn't have my features at all. Like, I have broad shoulders. All my other kids have broad shoulders.
No, they
now you back to the shoulders.
Back to the shoulder things and the ears. That's another thing. That's
is she on your exhibit too?
She got your ears. She has your eyes. She has your nose. She has all that. Everything of you she has. Your skin complexion.
It's another cartoon picture, but look, hers is 7.8 inches wide.
And her shoulders look broader than
Not broad at all.
So
she doesn't have broad shoulders at all. So that's why I feel like she's
broad, not broad, not broad.
Yes.
Oh, she about to cry.
And she got the ears too on this picture, on this exhibit.
She got the ears. She got the ears on that picture.
Whoever made that exhibit, because they put the ears on both kids.
Yeah, but yeah, they did.
No, really.
It's sad.
Well, it is sad because it's a product of a sexual relationship with no commitment.
Was having.
So you
thought I was being committed. He just was lying to me and making me feel like I was the only one. I was really thought we was together. So I'm not understanding. I wasn't having sex with any other man, period.
That's what she's telling me. That's what she's telling you, Your Honor.
But how do I know you come to my house, you pop up whenever you feel like you was caught him a couple times looking outside my window.
I came to see my kids. I can't help if it leads to other things.
But you saying these not your kids, so why does it matter if you
can't help if it leads to other things.
Yeah, I can't help.
Mr. Smithbey, did you really just say that in this courtroom?
At the same time, I mean, come on, it's a two-way street.
And just like, I don't understand.
It is a two-way street, but you can't tell me you can't help it.
Right.
I mean, you are helping yourself every time you come over there. Because you know you can. Ms. Thompson, you are suing Mr. Smithbey for $2,000 for child rearing expenses related to the raising of Legend and Radiance thus far.
Yes, Your Honor.
First, I want you to understand that I cannot rule on the child rearing expenses until it is determined if or if not the children are his biological children.
I also had the expense report for the kids as evidence.
Let me see that, Jerome. You've submitted receipts to the court, clothes, food, milk, medical bills, activities, baby needs, totaling $2,000 per child. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
You're suing for half of that, which is $2,000.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. I think we need to go to the results. These results were prepared by DNA Diagnostics, and they read as follows. In the case of Thompson versus Smithbey, when it comes to 2-year-old Legend Thompson, it has been determined by this court. Mr. Smithbey, you are his father. In the case of Thompson versus Smithbey, when it comes to 17-month-old Radiance Thompson, it has been determined by this court. Mr. Smithbey, you are the father. I told you I saw the ears.
That's
all I gotta say. No, really. These are your children. And I can see, Ms. Thompson, that what do you feel, relieved or vindicated?
To be honest, just that I was falling for the wrong person.
Because you fell for a man that doesn't want you. And now you have his children. Mr. Smithbey, now that you know for certain, what do you plan to do to help raise these children?
Get full custody.
Wow.
That's what I'm gonna do. That's what it's gonna be.
All right.
Sounds good.
So it sounds like you all are gonna spend a lot more time in court.
Exactly.
Nah, I won't.
But until that time, Ms. Thompson, you were suing for $2,000.
Yes.
Which is half of the child rearing cost for both children. I am awarding you that $2,000.
Thank you.
So my judgment is for the plaintiff.
Thank you.
Moving forward, let me give you a news flash. That girl loves you, and you know it. That's why you go over there, stay when you want to stay, have sex when you want to have sex. She's just your own personal 7-Eleven. 24 hours, 7 days a week. And it's not fair because you know it. You wrong. Mr. Hudson, you claim the defendant led you to believe you were her son, Ja'Cory's biological father, then dropped a bomb and admitted she slept with someone else.
Yes, Your Honor.
You're in court to prove you are not her son's father.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Bridges, you admit to sleeping with another man, but claim that you have no doubt Mr. Hudson is your child's biological father.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. And Mr. Hudson, why is it at first you believe that you were Ja'Cory's biological father?
Well, Your Honor, I was led to believe that I was Ja'Cory's father because at the time that we were living together is the time that she became pregnant with the child. We were together for approximately about 5 years, Your Honor.
Okay. So you were there throughout the pregnancy,
yes,
and you were
ma'am.
taking care of her. You all lived together.
Yes, ma'am.
You had a relationship.
Yes, Your
So
Honor.
you thought this baby was yours.
Yes, Your Honor.
Were you at the birth?
Yes, Your Honor. I was at the hospital. I took her to doctor's appointments. I was there. I cut the umbilical cord, Your Honor. I even signed the birth certificate on the day of the birth.
You did?
Yes, ma'am.
So you signed the birth certificate because on that day, you truly believed this child was yours?
Yes, Your Honor.
So you say she dropped a bomb on you.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me about that. When did that happen?
It happened a little before his first birthday party. I invited her. I invited everyone to come. She didn't even show to his first birthday party that I planned for.
Because I was not going to show because you had your ex-girlfriend there and I did not feel comfortable there being with her. So I had my own birthday party for him.
You threw a birthday party.
Yes, Your Honor.
You say Ms. Bridges didn't even come.
Yes, Your Honor.
Did the baby come? Did he get to come?
Yes, Your Honor. I had him there myself.
Okay, so you brought him there yourself. Oh, handsome. And so, Mr. Hudson, you say this bomb she dropped. When did she drop this bomb?
We had an argument, and that's when she came and she was telling me how I might not be the father and she had done these things. But I paid no attention to them because I am the father. I'm supposed to be the father. I'm here.
He was cheating on me back then, so that's the reason why I did what I did. So, yes, I say he might not be the father, but I know he's the father of Ja'Cory Hudson.
That's
the reason why he signed that birth certificate.
You said that's why I did what I did. What did you do?
Cheated on him.
You did?
Yes.
Okay. Was it during the window of conception?
No, it was the time when I went away and I came back and I was on the social network, and I seen so much stuff going on between him and this other little female, so I went on by myself and went and just did what I had to do. You
cheated with Mr. Davis, am I correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
So he's also in the courtroom. We will hear from him shortly.
Yes.
So since the bomb was dropped and you found out she had slept with someone else, what is happening with the relationship? Are you in Ja'Cory's life?
No, Your
Not
Honor.
at this moment.
You're not?
I was.
And what changed that?
I have no way of getting in contact with him. I can't talk to him. I can't see him.
He knows my auntie number. I gave it to him plenty of times. You just making things up, just not to be in the baby's life.
So is it your inability to get in contact with the child really what's holding you back? Or is it the fact that you don't truly know?
It's the fact that we don't know, Your Honor. But I still love him and I still take care of him. Even after the time that I was told that he wasn't mine, it's when I still threw his birthday party. I still bought him Christmas gifts, still bought him birthday gifts.
And that's what a father's supposed to do.
Even the months that he was born are not even adding up. She said that she got pregnant in the month of March. He was born in the month of October.
I had him 7 months. I had him 36 weeks. That was early. That's the reason why. He was supposed to be born on Thanksgiving, but I had him October the 28th.
If he was supposed to be born, you say 7 months. 7 months is not October. 7 months would have been November. I signed the birth certificate because I was under the influence that he was mine. I mean, what father wouldn't sign a birth certificate for a female that's living with him?
Even though you cheated, Ms. Bridges, you say, I did it. I did it.
Yes.
You still say Mr. Hudson is this child's biological father.
He's 100% the child's father.
Why do you know that for certain?
Because I just know, look at my baby, and he been there for us, so it's like, hey,
I've been there, correct. I took care of her when she had no one else to take care of her.
Yes, and I appreciate that.
I took the part.
For everything.
I did everything. She didn't have to do nothing but go to school. I paid all the bills. I worked 2 jobs.
Yes.
At the age of 18.
He feels like you led him to believe he was the father, because when I asked you, how do you know for certain, you said, well, because he's been there. You understand that him being there has nothing to do with the biology.
Yes.
You do understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Because you admitted you slept with someone else.
Yes, Your Honor.
Your Honor, even in my time of deception, still stood there and took care of him.
Are you talking about the time of deception, meaning when you were deceiving her or she was deceiving you? Because both of you all had time of deception.
When I was deceived by her, Your Honor, and
when
she
you were.
And gave me the assumptions that she had done what she had done.
Okay. That's true, Ms. Bridges?
Yes, Your Honor.
Does that make you emotional to hear that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Why?
Because I just know he's the father of my child. And I just know it. I know it for everything, Your Honor. I just know it.
Watch your step going up there.
Mr. Davis, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
We are here discussing the paternity as it relates to Jacory, and I want to ask you, do you believe you're Jacory's biological father?
Yes, I do, for several reasons. Me and Ms. Bridges met, we hung out for a couple of months. We ended up having unprotected sex around about 3 times. I didn't know that she was pregnant at all until I looked on Facebook one day, like a year later, and I see a picture of her son. And immediately, I think her son looks like my nephew. About a year after that, she came to me. She's like, oh, well, can you tell me the times that we had sex? And I'm like, okay. So I gave her a ballpark or whatever. And I'm like, why'd you ask me that? She's like, no reason. So, like a month later. Right.
No reason.
And I'm like, why'd you really ask me that? Does it have something to do with your son? And she's like, yeah, well, I think you might be his father, or it's a possibility. Then by the next message, she's flipped her whole standpoint on it. She's like, well, maybe he's not yours. I'm pretty sure that that's Mr. Hudson's son, and, if he's not, will you take a DNA test for me? I'm like, yeah, because I was engaged at the time, and the woman I was engaged to couldn't have kids. So for me to get that kind of news, it was kind of exciting for me.
And so, Ms. Bridges, you did tell him he potentially could be Jacory's father, is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
But you testified earlier that you said you know for sure.
I know for sure it's Mr. Hudson's child. So.
But I mean, if you know that for sure, then what was the point of coming to me and saying anything at all?
Because, I was just adding up the dates to see how. I was just adding up the dates. He said it was wrong.
Okay, but then you came right back to me.
I came to you.
You came right back to me, and when I asked you why you asked the second time, you're like, okay, well, it's because I think you might be his father.
Yes, you might be.
I have proof of that right here.
I slept with both of y'all at the same time.
What is this, sir?
Those are Facebook messages between her and I. The blue is me, the white is her. She wanted me to take the DNA test. She came to me. I didn't come to her
will you do a DNA for me? And you said, yes, I will.
Yes.
And you said thank you because I don't want my son to grow up without a dad.
Yes, Your Honor, I did say that.
And you have 2 men in court today, and you don't know for certain which one is your child's biological father because you just admitted that you slept with them at the same time.
Yes, but I know for sure he's the father.
Incorrect.
It's been 3 years. Who's been helping you? How are you raising this child?
My auntie, Miss Dollaragis, was up
Miss
there.
Dollaragis, will you please stand, ma'am?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you for joining us. So you had to pretty much step up and help her with this child.
This is correct, Your
because
Honor.
there was no father in the picture.
No father in the picture at all.
She was honest with you and told you that it could be two different men?
That is correct. That is correct, Your Honor. I've been helping Oteria raise Ja'Cory for he's going on 4 years old. I have been in his life ever since. There's been games going back and forth of who's the father, who is not the father. Mr. Davis has stepped up. He's constantly calling me, wanting to be the father, wanting to be in Ja'Cory's life. Ja'Cory has been ill, suffering with asthma. Mr. Davis did show up to the hospital. Yes, he showed up at the hospital with his concerns. My niece needs a reality check, Your Honor. She needs help. This is not a joke. I need for my niece to get assistance, not only with her education, but with her life and her children, period, Your Honor.
So, Ms. Dollaragis, who do you believe is the father? Do you have a belief one way or the other?
Honestly, Your Honor, I would go for it more towards Mr. Davis. The comparison look, very similar, even though I know that's not much, but they do have similarities.
You feel like they favor physically?
They do. They really do.
Has Mr. Hudson stepped up and tried to take care of Ja'Cory as well?
Not lately, but as he said in his testimony, Your Honor, he did celebrate his first birthday. He did come and get him. He's been to my house. He has been there as well.
Ms. Bridges, has Ja'Cory bonded with either of these men, or you don't want him to do that because you don't know which one is the father?
He bonded with Mr. Hudson more than Mr. Davis. I didn't really want Mr. Davis bond with him like that until we get results stating that he is the father of Ja'Cory Hudson.
So he's basically been living in limbo without a father in his life
Your Honor.
because of this paternity issue.
Yes.
Mr. Hudson, it's clear Mr. Davis wants to be the father. Are you feeling like, I'm hoping this child is mine?
I want to be his father only because I've had a bond with him and I still love him.
So, Mr. Davis, have you met Ja'Cory? Have you spent time with him?
It's been minimal, but I've spent time with him. The first time I met him, it was like, damn, I'm holding my kid. That was in 2013 that I actually got to meet him. And like I said, immediately when I saw a picture of him when he was first born, I thought he looked like my nephew. And when I took a picture with him and I look at it, I can see the resemblance. And, the past couple of years, it's been kind of hard because we haven't been able to see each other because, they don't want him to build a relationship with someone who may not be his father again. And I understand that, but it does hurt. This all could have been solved if I would have known from the beginning that you were even pregnant.
Because you feel like if you just would have told me from the start.
Then we could have figured everything out. We could have gotten DNA tests 4 years ago.
And this upsets you, I can see.
Yes, very much so. I've missed 3 years of a child's life that could possibly be mine.
And I apologize for that, but
Apologies can't take back 3 years of missed time.
I made mistakes and I learned from my mistakes. I was young back then.
So 2 men, both of whom want to be this child's father, and yet neither of them participating in his life.
No, Your Honor.
My purpose for not participating is simply that I'm not allowed to. There would be no flack in between if I was allowed to. You have an opportunity. You don't know if he's yours or not, but you've been there already. Why just walk away from him?
It's not that I walked away. It's that I was pushed away.
Well, what's obvious is this child is in this paternity limbo. Yeah. Going from place to place and home to home. He doesn't know who his father is because his mother doesn't know who his father is. Mr. Davis, if this child is yours, you're going to step up for this baby?
Yes, ma'am, most certainly.
Mr. Hudson, are you going to step up if this child ends up being yours?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, let's go to the results. These results were prepared by DNA Diagnostics, and they read as follows. In the case of Hudson versus Bridges, when it comes to 3-year-old Ja'Cory Hudson, pertaining to whether his biological father is Mr. Hudson or Mr. Davis. It has been determined by this court. Mr. Hudson, you are not his father. In the case of Hudson versus Bridges, when it comes to 3-year-old Ja'Cory Hudson, Mr. Davis, you are not his father.
Oh, no. Neither one of them.
This courtroom is in shock. Yes. This is not what anyone expected today. Mr. Hudson, how do you feel right now?
Hurt, betrayed.
Mr. Davis, I know this was not the result you wanted either.
I'm glad to know, but your lifestyle is not fair to your child.
Miss Bridges, as it stands right now, you don't know who your child's father is.
No.
Gentlemen, I have to say, for 2 young men in their early 20s, you all have both stood up here and have been honorable young men.
Ms. Johnson, after years of pain and suffering, you've petitioned the court for a DNA test to answer the question your son Damien has had all his life. Who is my father? You believe the defendant's deceased brother, Mr. Damien Ellerson, is the answer, and the DNA results will prove that today. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Fortuné, you claim your brother cannot be the father because Ms. Johnson has admitted to sleeping with other men. But if today's results prove he is the dad, he would be his only biological child. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Damien Johnson.
Yes, Your Honor.
You lived for years without knowing who your father is, and today you hope to finally have the truth. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. So, Ms. Johnson, I'll start with you. Why are you so positive Mr. Ellerson is Damien's biological father?
Damien, he was my first love. I would do anything for him. We were together all the time, and it just, I know in my heart that he is his father.
And you say it was your first love?
Yes.
What was it about him you loved?
Just his energy, his smile. I mean, he was like he didn't have a care in the world.
It makes you emotional to see his picture?
It does, because I'd give anything to have him back. I miss him all the time.
I'll go to you, Ms. Fortuné. How did you find out that he may be the father of Ms. Johnson's son, Damien? How did you find this out?
I found that out through my mother.
Really? What did she say?
She says possibility that Damien have a child. And so they were supposed to get a DNA. It was like, you know, my mom wanted to know, and then my mom didn't want to know because she never came and told us. He was already old enough.
Ms. Johnson, when did you first tell the family that Mr. Ellerson could be Damien's biological father? When did you first share this information?
Like a week after his 13th birthday. And that's because when he was first born, I got assistance from the state, and I gave 2 potential names. And one of them had a DNA test, and the other one didn't. He was automatically assumed the father by default, and that was when he was 2 months old.
The second name
Yes.
didn't show up to court?
Yes.
All right.
He waited until a week before his 13th birthday to have a DNA test done at home. Then my son comes home from being at his house for the weekend, and he said, "Mom, my dad stuck a Q-tip in my mouth and said he was checking to see if I had any diseases."
Whoa.
And I said, no, son, a DNA test is what he did.
So, Damien, I want to ask you this. Since you remember and you told your mom, tell me about that day. You were visiting the man you believe to be your biological father.
The dude that's supposed to be my dad signed my birth certificate. He pretty much was all on a roll like, yeah, we're just checking to see if he had any diseases. Like, I asked him, too. I was like, you know, like, what's going on? He just, we're checking to see if he had any diseases. So later on that day, I ended up going home with him, and then I ended up going home to my mom after he dropped me off. And I told my mom, like, Mom, this doesn't seem right. Like, he took me to doctors to see if I had any diseases. Like, I'm 12 years old. Why would I have any diseases like that, you know? So, like, I was still sick later on that day. I ended up going home, and I just told my mom, like, something about this just doesn't feel right, you know?
And so, Ms. Johnson, you remember that day, and at some point, did you get the results?
Yes, and it came back that he wasn't his.
Oh.
And then he just stopped talking to me. He just, like, left me, just, no dad.
So, Ms. Johnson, that's what leads you to now believe Mr. Ellerson is Damien's biological father.
Yes.
Because the other two gentlemen who you thought were are not possibilities.
Right.
So, Damien, what did your mom tell you about Mr. Ellerson?
She told me that she was deeply in love with him, you know, like they met and they had, you know, sexual intercourse, all that, when around the time I was born, you know, the year 96. So it could be a possibility, but we never really figured it out because, you know, he's deceased. And thinking, like, in my head, I'm thinking, like, it's gonna be so much work trying to figure out if he's really my dad, because you gotta go through so much stuff. But it's like, my mom shows me pictures and everything. I do look like him, you know, and it's out of all the dudes she does show me, he is the one that I do look like. Like.
Out of all of the dudes she shows you. So when you look at the picture, you feel like you see a resemblance?
Yeah.
Did you meet his family?
I met him once when I was 12 or 13, I think. He took me to the park and
You're right. I forgot all about that, yes.
So, Miss Fortuné, what did your mother say to you about this meeting?
She said Ms. Johnson, you know, gave her pictures and stuff, and that he might be my brother's son. So in a way, my mom believed it, kinda, but it was just too emotional. And far as me, kinda, but I don't think so.
So your mother was unable to be here today, but she did send a statement to the court. I'd like to read that. The statement reads, I don't believe my son is the father of this child. I don't remember Ms. Johnson and just met her some years ago when her son was a teenager. She brought him to church for me to see him and told me my son, Damien Ellerson, could be his potential father. He came over and I talked to him for a few hours or so. And then I never seen or heard of him again. I see some parts of my son, but you got to do the DNA in order to find out. That's a statement from Ms. Lethea Murray.
Your Honor, that statement right there is not correct. My son never, to this day, has never met her.
But I do want to get to this point. I mean, it seems you have no relationship really with the family. But you named your son Damien right after Mr. Ellerson. That's his name.
Correct. And that's because he was my first love and he was murdered. I was dating him. We had relations up until he disappeared.
You wasn't dating him. Miss Johnson, not only that, you slept with two of my cousins.
I slept with one.
Two.
One.
Two.
Oh, so are you testifying that you believe your cousin, not your brother, could be Damien's biological father?
Yes.
Miss Johnson, you did sleep with Mr. Ellerson's cousin?
Yes, I did.
Well, that cousin is here, and I think we need to hear from him. Jerome? Hello, Mr. Henley.
Hello, Your Honor.
Thank you for joining us today. We are here uncovering a paternity saga, and we are trying to get down to the bottom of who this wonderful young man's father is, because he deserves to know. We've heard testimony that you're Mr. Ellerson's cousin,
I am.
also had a sexual relationship with Miss Johnson.
I did.
Your cousin, Miss Fortuné, said that she believes you could in fact be Damien's biological father. What do you say to that?
I mean, myself, I don't believe I am, but I mean, there's always a possibility.
Why don't you believe you are? Do you admit having a sexual relationship with Miss Johnson?
Yes, I do.
Was the sex protected?
No, it wasn't.
So tell me about your relationship with her.
I mean, at the time, me and my cousin, we were real close. I'm like, every time he was with Misty, I pretty much was with him, so I knew about Misty. But I never looked at Misty as, somebody to be with. It just kind of happened at that point. So once my cousin passed away, she reached out to me, I think, to get some belongings of his, and I was emotional about it too. I went over there, was talking to her, just about my cousin, reminiscing, and it just kind of, one thing led to another. And the reason why I wasn't protected, because it wasn't planned. It's just something that happened.
And so how long did this sexual relationship continue?
During that time, it was just a couple of times, and then I didn't see her for years.
So when did you find out you could potentially be Damien's biological father?
I found out, I can't remember his age, but it was pretty much after she told me about his potential father leaving him. She reached out to me, asked me to come over, to visit or whatever, and she gave me a little bit of the story about how I could possibly be the father, which I was surprised to hear that, because we only had, at that time, it was like 2 times.
Just takes once.
It does. So I went over there. I was curious myself. She had us take side-by-side pictures just to do a comparison, which
And this is the picture you took?
Yeah.
Damien, I want to know your reaction from that encounter. What did it feel like for you?
It honestly didn't feel like anything out of the ordinary either to me, but yeah, I remember hanging out, and it just never really came to my mind to think about it. Like, he could be my dad. I was going off of what my mom told me, about the other Damien,
right.
So that's who the only other dude I really thought could be my dad is.
And since being told that Mr. Henley could potentially be your biological father, have you tried to develop a relationship at all with him?
I have not. But at this time, it would be nice to know who my dad is. Everybody else got their dad. Everybody else growing up have their dad there. I don't, So it'd be nice to be able to call somebody dad, It's hard. My mom, growing up, my mom's been my dad, and I've been my own dad, so, it'd be nice. It's rough, but that's why we're here today, to figure it out.
Yes.
Get it out the way.
Yes. We are here today to figure it out. So at this point, we are dealing with 4 possible fathers, 2 of which we have no determination at this point. Ms. Johnson, I believe in this court record, you then told your son there was another possible father.
Yes.
Mr. Slaughter.
Yes.
Can you tell me about your relationship with Mr. Slaughter?
It wasn't no commitment. We'd go over there.
So you basically were having a casual sexual relationship with Mr. Slaughter?
Yes.
And at what point do you tell him that he potentially could be Damien's biological father?
Around the same time that we found out that the DNA test came back that he wasn't the second one. I got a hold of him on Facebook.
Because at this point, you're feeling the pain of the fact that your son has basically just lost the man he believes is his biological father.
He doesn't know who he is anymore. And he deserves to know who he is.
And how did that make you feel as a mother watching your son have to face that level of pain?
I can't use the word that I really felt like in the courtroom. I raised them, all three of my kids, by myself. And for my son not to know where he came from, I mean, I can only imagine. But, I mean, bottom line, he needs to know where he came from, and that's why we're here.
And that's why we're here.
Honestly, I told him, I said, what can I say, son? Your mom was a tramp. I was fast then. I can't take it back, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It is what it is. But he needs to know. I feel in my heart that Damien is his dad, and my son wrestled just like Damien did.
But if you knew my brother was his son, why you could have brought him when he was young to let us know? We could have did a DNA.
As soon as the DNA test came back and I found out that he wasn't that second man's, I reached out and I got a hold of Mr. Henley, and he gave me your mother's information. I called her that very day.
I mean, I'm not for sure about that story, honestly.
So what you're saying, Ms. Johnson, is the minute you found out that the second man was not Damien's biological father, because at that point you had convinced yourself, and you all were just living and operating like he was the biological father, but once that test came back, you say you reached out to Miss Fortune's family, Mr. Ellerson's family.